Hello everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be closing out Season 2 of Doctor Who with the actually pretty good story, The Time Meddler. The Time Meddler was broadcast in 4 parts, and it's actually really cool, and it's the first appearance of another Time Lord, which is basically the Doctor's species, but they're not actually named until way later, the end of the second Doctor's era, actually. But for now, before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me what you thought of the story, or what kind of other reviews you'd like to see next. Let's get started. The Time Meddler basically closes out from the chase, and it introduces a new companion, Stephen, who was stowing away on the TARDIS while they weren't looking back in the chase. With Ian and Barbara now in the rearview mirror, it's time for Vicky and what's his name? I just said it. Stephen, coming in to fill their boots and become the new brave adventurers with the Doctor on board. The story basically begins it takes place in the year 1066, where it has by far one of the strongest first episodes. It does a great job of introducing some background characters, which is like a housewife, and a bunch of men who are trying to fight away Vikings. Of course, 1066, as some of my history friends might know, or like as you guys who like history might know, 1066 is rather important for Europe in particular, historically speaking. It's when the Battle of Hastings happens, and it's also the time of some Viking invasions. The Doctor, probing that housewife, or not probing, but like interrogating her and asking her questions, he actually is able to work out that he's in 1066, and he realizes that there's going to be a Viking invasion, like, weeks from now, not very far. However, he goes to the house of who would later become known as the Meddling Monk. So he goes to his monastery, and he gets trapped in a jail cell there. Later, Vicky and Stephen are off separate, trying to forage for food and also try to explore. And about halfway through, or not about halfway through, but like towards like the beginning of episode 2, so almost halfway through, they meet the Meddling Monk, and Stephen basically, Stephen tries to ask him, about the Doctor, and it ends up tricking him into giving away information that the Doctor is in fact being trapped, in the monastery. So they're trying to work their way, trying to figure out what's going on, while the Doctor actually manages to escape. And from there, the story just gets better. We learn that the Meddling Monk is another Time Lord who, again, won't be named until, way later as a species, collectively. And he's actually trying to, hence his name, meddle with time. Very creative, I know. He's trying to sort of offset history. Like, while his intentions may be in the right place, he's doing it to be, he's very chaotic about it, and he's clearly trying to screw it up. He goes back, what he's been doing his whole adventure, he's been trying to go back in time and reveal certain secrets to people much earlier than they should be discovered. For example, he brags to the Doctor that following his own trajectory, then we can have jet airliners by 1320s, which in theory might be good, but like that's kind of like diverting the course of history, which isn't great. Meanwhile, the Vikings are beginning to make their invasion. A small fleet of Vikings send a little band to go, get the lay of the land, trying to figure out, where's food, what's the environment like, the weather's like, all that kind of stuff. Then we discover that the monk has his own TARDIS, which is taken in the shape of a small English sarcophagus, or Saxon sarcophagus, which is rather creative, I must say. However, of course, in the end, the Doctor thwarts his plans, and as always, saves the day. by actually messing up with the dimension sort of device on the TARDIS so that it's actually like smaller on the inside. It's rather creative, which basically means that the monk is kept marooned in 1066 until, as the Doctor puts it, he learns his lesson, which I find to be rather humorous. Overall, this is a really great story. I think it's by far becoming one of my favorites. I've heard it was good, but like I didn't know it was that engrossing, that enriching. I highly recommend that you give it a watch if you find the means. And that's pretty much all there is to say about the story. Be sure to turn on notifications and subscribe so that you always know when I put one of these out. I'm planning to put one of these out every day, or at least as much as I want to. But to correct a certain miscalculation I made in days, I'm going to be releasing another video later on today, possibly, if not just earlier on tomorrow. Bye, and I'll see you soon with Galaxy 4 Season 3 opener.